A lot of people are really hyped right now because Pokemon is in a really interesting and fun time. We have tons of great sets, tons of great arts, tons of great Pokemon, and honestly, it's a great time to be in the hobby. That's why everywhere you go on the internet, you see people saying or making guides on how to get involved and how to start collecting, etc., etc. But there is a question to be asked on the basis of, is it the best time Pokemon has ever had? And today we're going to take a deeper dive under the guise of reviewing this article, Is Collecting Modern Pokemon Cards the Most Fun It's Ever Been? But before we get started, as we always do, let's roll that intro. Hey Gengar Gang, what is going on? My name is Ryan, this is the Analytic Gengar, and welcome to another video. In today's video, friends, we take a look at this Ludkins Media article, Is Collecting Modern Pokemon Cards the Most Fun It's Ever Been? Obviously, as I said in the intro, there is a lot of hype with Pokemon right now. There are tons of great cards, tons of great sets, there's just so much going on that it is sincerely one of the best eras of Pokemon in my opinion, and I do genuinely believe that in the future this particular era, whether it be whatever half of Sword and Shield we're in, or whatever the thought may be, I think since Vivid Voltage, honestly, we really turned a sharp corner and began a real upwards trajectory in terms of the overall hype that each set sort of delivered in tandem with one another, and sort of back to back. So sincerely, there is a lot of really cool stuff happening right now, and this article really wants to answer that question. More importantly, we're going to apply a little bit more of a critical and philosophical lens and hopefully come to a truer answer, or at least at a minimum, I'll get to share my thoughts about it with you all. But before we get started, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you're not already to the Gengar Gang in order to join our happy little community. And without further ado, let's get started. Of course, today's article will be found down below in the description. If it isn't, feel free to hit me up or leave a comment and I will definitely get you the link to it. So the article starts off by saying for the longest time it felt like the collectors were secondary to the players. They really focused on the mechanics and not necessarily anything else. Full art EX cards from back in the XY era, they were beautiful, but they were close to 5 years lived. And that's a thing, because honestly, if they're around for too long, people get tired of them, right? Bland GX full art cards followed, and those are the ones, the type, they're alright, it is what it is. And then a somewhat collector-focused set would come up every now and again, like Evolutions or Shining Legends. Weird that they forgot Hidden Fates there. But overall, from Black and White up to the Tag Team era, collectors were, far and few away because, they just weren't the focus of the TCG. However, over the past year, it seems, Pokemon has discovered the massive untapped demand of collectors. I think that's a really important sentence because here's the thing. Depending on what communities you sit in or the types of folks that you surround yourself with on social media, you may end up seeing both perspectives, right? There are obviously two very thriving types of Pokemon hobbyists. The type that is a TCG player, the type that is a active TCG collector, or some amalgamation of the two. Some folks do both, some folks do a little bit of one and then more of another, etc., etc. So I think this is a really interesting point because, truthfully, there is a untapped potential. If you start selling directly to collectors, i.e. Hidden Fates, which I don't know why this article has not made mention of yet, you begin to see the true benefit, right? Hidden Fates was such an insanely hyped up set, so high in demand, they couldn't keep this stuff on store shelves. They're still reprinting it up till today when they get a chance to, and the truth of the matter is, I don't think hype will ever die down for that set, because in many ways, it was a collector-oriented set that also included some aspects for TCG players. The TCG players were expecting a new set anyway, so for them, they're just happy they got new cards, but I'm sure they also began to appreciate the artwork, and for collectors who for, a long time sought out cards worth genuinely collecting, bindering, etc., etc., they finally got it when they got, upwards of 100 shiny Pokemon, whether it be in baby or full art form. So that collector statement is so true, and it's something that I don't think they've tapped enough into just yet. Although it seems like with the plans for more and more shiny sets, I think that's certainly something that's coming our way. So not only have they built more products positioned towards collectors, but they've done incredibly well. They've done special art cards, meaning the alternate art cards. So they brought those back for the tag team Pokemon cards, but for also regular ultra rares. You can see some examples down here. A wide selection of artists have been employed, so now you're getting more diversity of artists as well, each of them bringing their own unique art style to the cards, which again is greatly helping the cause. And it's not just special arts, right? But now even the commons and the uncommons really have some beautiful artwork, and I think that's one of the things that's really helping Pokemon to stand out amongst its competitors and its peers, is because I genuinely believe this article hits at least this part right on the head. They are focusing in on developing the art style of these cards, and that's something that's going to greatly help the collector space want to collect these cards more. So while special arts have improved across from common cards all the way up to the rare end stuff, the other thing is that there is no such thing as a Sun and Moon Crimson Invasion or Black and White Emerging Powers in the special art era. They're quite confident that there never will be. And then in addition to this, Pokemon is now producing collector focus sets with more frequency and at a high level of quality. That statement could be argued. A while back, I made a video about Shining Fates versus Hidden Fates, and I encourage you to go check it out after this video. It does a great job, I think, of breaking down the technicals on how Shining Fates compares to its, honestly, big brother in every single way, shape, and form. And the sad truth of the matter is, it doesn't compare in many categories, even though it is quite literally meant to be a spiritual successor to the set. My main argument is that Hidden Fates came out at the end of the Sun and Moon era, while Shining Fates comes out with, I think, 3 or 4 sets in the entire Sword and Shield era. So because there's only so few sets, there's so few cards to come through with, right? Imagine if Shining Fates had come out in spring of 2022, it would have had everything during 2021 to tap into as well, including the alternate arts from battle styles, everything from Chilling Reign, everything from Evolving Skies, and then Fusion Strike a little bit later this year as well. And that would have probably been a really good thing, just to delay it a year. So it's one of those things, right? I think that while they are producing more collector focused sets, I can't quite say they're hitting it, out of the park when it comes to this stuff every single time. And even the Celebrations cards have not been praised universally the same way that something like Hidden Fates was. And I think part of the reason for that is because, again, they're just kind of rushing to get stuff out there, and that may be causing impacts to the overall quality and aesthetic of these sets. And again, when it comes to collectors, aesthetic and style are the two things that really drive collectability. It's not just because, I said this card was cool, that's why you're going to collect it. It's because people generally and universally like the card that they are seeking out. Now, moving on, the article goes on to argue that Celebrations is arguably the most exciting set for collectors ever produced, offering a small set list and iconic reprints from throughout the Pokemon era. There are vintage cards, there are tons of new cards, and you'll get the opportunity to pull a little bit of everything, right? Many people will never get a chance to pull something like a Gold Star Umbreon, which you would typically have to pull from a Pop Series 5 pack, but you'll certainly have the chance in Celebrations. Ditto the Charizard, ditto Blastoise, Venusaur, tons of cards, right? Tons of those old school reprints are, this for many of them, it's going to be a far more accessible way for collectors to pull these cards and experience something similar to what it would have been like to pull them out of real packs from the actual sets where they premiered in. And The article notes that from all indications, it appears as if Pokemon is committed to printing large numbers of Celebrations products to make it accessible as possible. As many of you know, I've been covering Celebrations practically every video this week, even though I said this particular video on Saturday would be a little bit different. But the one thing that I will note regarding this is that I did say as much, right? I think every indication is pointing to them wanting to print as much Celebrations as possible. The only thing is that it may not be the product that you want it to come in, right? So one thing to note is that things like the ETBs and the 3-pack, promo pack things, here's a picture of them, those are the types of things that will likely be printed en masse and shipped with multiple waves. You'll find them on store shelves, etc., etc. That's the whole point. But things like the Ultra Premium Collection probably won't fare as well. There are a bunch of very specific components that go into that make manufacturing something like that a little bit more arduous, and I think for that reason, it will probably be a situation where they kind of hold back or print less of those than they would and print more things like the ETBs, which are pretty standard. But again, if you're going after just Celebrations products, I think you're in a good spot because, here you are and you'll be able to get as much Celebration packs as you want, just ripping open ETBs and getting, packs out of there. So, the other thing is that they begin to wrap up the article. They said the changes that have been made to set design and products over the past years, especially over the last year, have made it more fun than ever to collect modern Pokemon cards. The variety of art styles means there's so much to choose from, and new sets like Celebrations provide outstanding collecting experiences. We can only hope these changes are permanent and collectors remain well served by Pokemon in the future. A very nice and cushy way of ending the article. So, my own 2 cents on this. Yes, Pokemon has made a lot of enhancements, and I say enhancements in a positive and praising way because I do believe they are enhancements. Whether it be, the new artworks that they've brought in, like the ones that I'm cursing over right now, or alternate arts, or focus on more fan-favorite Pokemon, or a diversity of Pokemon, looking at you, Charizard, who got like 18 different versions of the same card. At least they are now considering Umbreon, or Tyranitar, or Marnie's a fan favorite, but Greedent, who, is like the stereotypical squirrel Pokemon you find on the first few routes of the Pokemon game. So I'm happy because as much as they're paying homage to fan favorite Pokemon like the Mythicals and the first ever starter fire Pokemon, they are also giving a fair shot, at least partially, to other Pokemon to, sort of sit in the limelight in one way, shape, or form, which I think is a great thing to do. All that said, the one thing that I wish we would focus more on is, the caliber of these sets. And I say the word caliber because I think they've used every other word, basically trying to indicate like, hey, each of these sets is such high quality and each of these sets is so great and awesome. And to that I say, that may be your opinion, but let's look at some empirical facts in order to try to get to a better understanding or interpretation of the quality of these sets, right? Just because it has a shiny Charizard in it doesn't mean it's a great set, looking at you, Shining Fates. And I keep picking on them because I know that I did the math, and I know that I did the calculations, and I know that I looked at it from a mathematical standpoint, and I believe that those arguments that I made in that video I mentioned earlier are very much so a valid and accurate way of interpreting the quality of that set. Because again, Pokemon comes out with Hidden Fates and it's such high quality, and we know this for a fact because it is almost universally praised, aside from the fact that they just couldn't keep it on store shelves because of the unprecedented demand for that set. And bear in mind, that wasn't brought on by, some sort of logistical nightmare. That was brought on by unprecedented demand for one set in a pre-pandemic world. So just as a little bit of a heads up, it's not because it was like Vivid Voltage where it was popular and it was in short supply. They were cranking this stuff out. They just couldn't keep it on store shelves. And then you roll out Shining Fates, which again just was a lackluster set. And now I fear that Celebrations, because of articles like this, will get pushed to the forefront. But the good news is that a lot of people are mixed in their reactions to Celebrations, and I find that quite funny. a lot of the holographics are not being reprinted with the original holographics. So while, you know, the first edition base set Charizard, or just the base set Charizard in general, had that, you know, twinkle background, or that twinkle holographic pattern as I call it, they will all be getting the Celebrations holographic reprint, or more accurately, the McDonald's reprint. So it's kind of gross because, you know, in a weird way, they may have killed the aesthetic of some of the cards. Certainly people are pointing to the stamp as another reason why Celebrations may not be the cutest set ever, and that, you know, you can reprint any card you want. It can be the best cards in the world. If you stick a big Pikachu stamp on it, it's going to kill the aesthetic of the card. And truthfully, there might have been better ways for them to indicate that this isn't the original version of the card, but rather is a reprinted version of the card without having the branding sort of in the focused forefront of the video, or rather of the card. So it's one of those things. You know, Celebrations is getting a lot of hype, but I don't think hype equates to quality, right? Hidden Fates got hype and quality. Shining Fates got a little bit of hype and low quality. And then Celebrations, we'll certainly wait to see. But I think the argument that, hey, this is the best time ever and this is the funnest stuff ever, it remains to be seen. Again, I think and I wish that they would focus in a little bit more and really kind of hone in on what a collector wants to see in a set. It's funny because by accident they stumbled on that beautiful ratio. You know, it's sort of like the Fibonacci sequence, like that perfect number. And they stumbled onto it completely by happenstance with Hidden Fates, and then ever since we've seen so much of, you know, trying to bootleg Hidden Fates and bring that forward, that it might actually be to the detriment from a collector's perspective. There was a time when shiny Pokemon were special. Now every set has at least 1 or 2 shiny gold cards in it, and if every single year we're gonna get a new shiny set, you know, again, it's just going to be a distilled version of the same thing that we're always used to. Meaning, it looks like Hidden Fates, it smells like Hidden Fates, it might be a different generation, but the general generic posture is, you know, grab the last few sets, let's make a couple full art shiny, let's throw a whole bunch of promos at it, and hopefully we'll get it right. But just because there's tons of shiny cardboard flying around does not necessarily mean collecting modern Pokemon cards is the most fun it's ever been. But with all that said, friends, thanks again for checking out another video. I appreciate your viewership, and I appreciate you stopping by. You could have been anywhere on the internet, but you chose to spend some time with me, and that means the world. Let me know what you guys think down below. It's one of those situations. I'm hesitant to say it's the funnest it's ever been, because there are times when it's just a lot of shiny cardboard flying around, but that means nothing to me if there isn't, you know, a genuine relationship and experience that's formed with this stuff. But with all that said, friends, thanks again for checking out another video, and we will talk soon. Peace.